So today we're going to be installing the Heezy HTS15 single circuit furnace transfer switch, and we're going to do this directly on a furnace today. So this is all about wiring it right on a furnace. And so on the first step that you're going to need to do on your furnace, of course, is shut off the power. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull the panel off here. I'll show you where the electrical connection is. And it's coming in on the back side here, and this is what they call a door switch. So this will only operate and power up when the switch is closed. So this actually doesn't shut off the power to the unit. So you don't want to just go off of that. You're going to want to shut off the circuit breaker. So you need to track down what circuit breaker you're using. And this is for a 15 amp service. So you'll be looking for a 15 amp circuit breaker. And we just shut it off, so we're going to verify that it's shut off. And you can do this one of two ways. I'm going to pull off the electrical access cover here. And usually generally it's a 1/4 inch drive, sometimes it's a flat head. And then we can access our wiring here. So we got black, which is our hot leg. Our white is our neutral. And the green or bare copper is our ground. So one of the ways you can use to test is with the fluke light stick or non-contact voltage detector, and there's all sorts of brands. It doesn't matter what you use. And when you hold this up here, it will light up if there's electrical voltage present. So we've already shut off the breaker, but it's a good way to verify. And the second way to verify would be using a volt-ohm-meter. And so we're going to actually pull off the wiring up very carefully and then test it on the hot leg to ground. I'm just going to pull this back, being careful not to touch any of the exposed ends, and loosen up this wire nut. And you got to be careful because they can spring loose, so then I can kind of release it carefully. The black to the case grounding kind of can go there, and then turn our meter on. Show that there. Zoom out. It's not going to show up there. So it's kind of hard to see. You can't really see it off the on the camera there, but I'm going from ground to our hot leg, and we're not showing any voltage, so we know the power's been shut off, and we're safe to work on the circuit now. So we can go ahead and disconnect the other wire nuts. And sometimes your ground, if you don't have a ground there, they might be using the conduit for the wiring as the ground, so you might not have a ground. In that case, you'll have to screw the ground directly to the electrical box. And you can kind of see there, this is where our ground is, right here. So you could screw that right to there if there wasn't a wire coming in. So we got that disconnected. And we're just going to leave that there for now, and then we're going to mount our transfer switch. And so in this case, what you want to do is kind of figure out where the best location is for access, for turning it on and off and plugging everything in. And usually if you can be on the same size as electrical, that's the best spot you can be. So in this case, it's not real accessible over here. We're going to be mounting it on this side of the furnace, and then running the conduit in. So you also want to look where there's a knockout. In this case, we already have one kind of right perfectly where we want to be, and it's a 1/2 inch knockout. If you don't have any holes, any knockouts present, you're going to have to drill a hole there. But most of them already have them there. This one's already been knocked out, but generally this will be like a piece of sheet metal in here, and you'll see like just a ring, and you'll have to hit that with a hammer to knock it out. So you want to we're going to need to pull the cover off of this to access the mounting holes in the back. So we'll pull that off. Okay, so in order to access the mounting holes in the back, we need to pull the front cover off and kind of open up everything. So just kind of loosen these up. And there's a bit of a trick to kind of pulling the cover off because of the wiring inside. And you want to get the left side off first, and then you can kind of rotate it down to get the right side off. And then just kind of slowly pull it, and the conduit will kind of get stuck on the wire. So I'll just kind of pull it, and then you'll feel it kind of pull out. You can pull the wire back, and now we can access the mounting holes. So in the contents we have a little bag of goodies, and you'll see I have a picture of everything that's in here, and I kind of give you a lot of extra stuff that you probably won't need. We have a 90-degree conduit fitting for 1/2-inch knockout, and then we also have, there's 5 wire nuts, there's 4 universal power drywall wood masonry screws. That's good for any of that. And it's good for sheet metal too. The problem is it's really long, and so instead of that, I include some little 1/4-inch zip screws, and these are perfect for sheet metal. They're self-tapping, so you don't need to pre-drill anything, and just uses a standard number 2 Phillips head. And there's 4 mounting holes, and I recommend at least using 2 of them, either cross corner, in order to mount that. You don't need to use all 4 if you don't want to. Okay, so what we're going to do is mount this on our furnace, and I give you about 18 inches of conduit, and then there's close to 40 inches of wire on this, so you got plenty of wire and everything. But as you can notice here, that I don't know if you can completely notice it or not, but there's a water heater here, and we'll kind of get in the way. So what we're going to do is actually shorten this up, and we're going to cut this conduit. So I'm going to mark the conduit where we want to be at here, and if you use your fitting and stuff, you can kind of get an idea where to cut it at. But basically, if you just do it right in front of the hole here, I'm going to mark that with a marker. So as you can see here, I got the spot marked where we're going to cut the conduit. There's a variety of ways to do this. If you have a little die grinder, cutting straight across here is the best way. But one of the other ways is if you take it and just kind of twist it and then split it. And you can see I got it kind of split there, and then it'll kind of separate. You can bring it back, and using some sort of cutters, you can use a hacksaw, kind of whatever you got. If you got some heavy duty side cutters like this, you can just kind of come in, and it's just aluminum, so it's actually pretty easy to cut. And then just pull that piece off the end, and now everything's been shortened up, and the end will be kind of twisted out there, but you can kind of just push that back in, and that's what's going to go in our fitting. So we're good there. And then on the fitting, it's really hard to feed this wire through on these, just because it wants to get caught up. It's such a turn that it's easier if you just pull the cover off. Otherwise you'll sit there and fight it for 15 minutes, and then you'll take the cover off. Okay, so now we got the little connector on here, 90 degree. I got kind of just loose on here. I pulled the nut off, and that's what we're going to feed this through here, through our knockout. kind of pull that and then put the wires through the nut. Pull the nut down there. And it's best just kind of keep everything a little loose until you get everything mounted. Keep that loose. And we'll kind of see where we're at. And that's it there, and it's kind of back out of the way, won't get hit by anything, and still allow us plenty access for putting the cord in and everything. So we're going to screw that down. Like I said, it comes with self-tapping sheet metal screws, so if you're doing on the sheet metal, these are pretty short, and you won't have to worry about penetrating. And if you look inside here, it depends on your configuration. On this one, the burners are on the bottom. You kind of see this by, you might be able to see it by the rivets that are here, the weld spots. And so we're going to stay away from that section and go up here. And then all there is some insulation. There's nothing on the back side of this. So I'll do one screw first in the corner, and with the long bit kind of helps get in there. Might be kind of tight with the water here, so we'll check and see. So we got the one on there. Now I'll put the level on and we'll level that out. Okay, so for the one screw I actually get a little bit shorter bit on here, and so I got a shorter bit because I just couldn't fit it in there with the water heater in front. So there's the 4 screws and everything on there, and you kind of can see on the wiring here what we're going to do when we put this back in is we're gonna pull on this wire so everything kind of tightens up in there. So just kind of tighten it up as you kind of pull it, and so get the right side on first, and the left side will slide on there. And we're good to go. Nice and everything's all nice and leveled out, and I did want to point out a feature on the top here is we have a location for writing a labeling location on here, so you can write what the circuit's for. Now this obviously makes sense, it's on the furnace here, it's for the furnace. But if you're mounting this on a different location, a circuit breaker panel, you're going to want to label that. Okay, so now we got the transfer switch all mounted up. It's right there. And our wiring, and now we can go ahead and tighten all this up right now. Now that we got everything, you'll want to tighten down the clamp on this. It's just a flat tip. And just snug that down. And so we got that. That's good and secure. Got the nut on the back side, and that's been tightened down, so now we're good. And so for this one, we're running the wire over, and on the back side here, what we have is you'll see the wire that comes in, and so this is what's feeding everything in the furnace. So it's coming through this connector in the back. And this is kind of what they call a squeeze connector. So what we're going to do is pop that out. And sometimes it can be a little tricky to pop out using a pair of
Yielding those pliers. Sometimes just pushing in on the clamp will get it. And I'm going to try it that way. And you might not have to do this if you have another knockout on yours, then you can go ahead and not have to do that. So now I got the clamp out. I'll pull this out here, kind of show you up close kind of what this is. And sorry there. And it's just a wire clamp that kind of pinches down when you put it in. So we're not going to be using that, but we do need to get a grommet in there. So in this case, we're going to be feeding in. We got to pull the wire out first of all, and I got to pull the ground off. Pull the ground off temporarily. Now this is probably more steps than you need to do for the average furnace. Your furnace might be a little different, and hopefully you already have everything with a wire, so it makes it simple. I'm just going to kind of pull this out, and I'll pull each one of these out here. It's kind of a tight fit. And our black power leg is actually coming off of our switch here, so I'll have to pull that off. Okay, so I got to pull off the this wire. It's just really tight on here. It's got a little push-on terminal. Let's see if I can get it off. There we go. I'll push that through, and then we're going to put in a just a little grommet here, if I can get it, and all the wire will go through this. Hopefully it will all fit, and it just snaps in, and we'll just start bringing all our wires now back through. I'll put this one back on and just make sure that it looks good. And got our ground wires. And we have our neutral wire. Now we're going to need to bring in our 5 wires coming from the transfer switch. And right now we have 5, and you'll see in some of my other videos where I'm going to talk about doing the wiring the neutrals together in the switch. But in this circumstance, we're going to be switching our neutrals, so we're going to be utilizing all 5 wires. So I'm going to bring them all in here. Now, if you have a little box where you can't fit all this stuff in, you might need to do it on the outside. Okay, so we're going to pull those down. So now we've got everything. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back and hook up our ground wire and get that connected. In what order you do this, it doesn't really matter. You can start hooking up your hot wires first. You can hook up the neutrals. The sequence of wiring it is not important. Okay, so it's very important that you follow the directions in the book on the color coding. So we're going to start with our red wire, and the red wire from the transfer switch is the main power coming in from our circuit breaker. So in this case, we have our black wire here, which is our hot. And we're going to be connecting to this wire. This is a solid copper wire. We have a stranded wire, and we're gonna strip that. I got my wire strippers here, and notice on wire strippers, a lot of them will mark on it
for solid and stranded, and then the numbers. So in the wiring in this transfer switch, we have 14 gauge stranded, so you want to make sure you use the appropriate size stripper on that. And you're going to want to strip off anywhere from about a 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch. And you can do them all at the same time if you want, but I'm just going to do them individually. So I got it off, and then we're going to twist those together just to make a nice tight braid. And then we're going to connect that to our hot. Now if these were both solid wires, we want to pre-twist these with a pair of pliers before we put a wire nut on. But since we have a stranded and a solid, it doesn't really work that way, and we just put a wire nut on directly like this. So now we're going to wire nut that. And I include 5 wire nuts, and these are universal tan ones. These are very good for multiple sizes, so if you have more than 2 wires, it goes for anywhere from 1/14 up to I think 3 or 4/12, so it'll fit a variety of sizes. And then push that on there. Keep the wires as even as you can together on the tip. Push it all the way in and turn it clockwise to the right, and just keep twisting, and the feel will get really tight, and then the wires themselves will start to twist over one another, and that's when you know you got a good connection. It's tight as it can get in here, and we're done with that one. So our hot leg is done. So now what this has done is it's feeding our power to our transfer switch. And now we need to connect up the other ones. So the other wire we have is our black one, and this is the wire coming back from the transfer switch, and this is our main hot leg, and this is feeding our furnace. So now we're going to connect this up to the wire which goes to the switch, which feeds the whole circuit. So these are 2 hot wires. We're going to do those first. I'm going to strip this back and tighten it down. Pull the kind of lengthen out the wire here, and you're going to want to make sure that it is not broken and on the braids and all the individual strands. If it has good, if you have enough line and you need to get kind of some new clean copper, just cut that off and re-strip it. And we're going to connect those up. And on these, you can kind of pre-twist these together, and those won't come loose. And then you can put your wire nut on. And just keep turning it. If it feels like it doesn't catch and it just keeps twisting, pull it off and kind of readjust the wires and see if you can get the catch. But these wire nuts are really great, and I haven't had any issues with them. Now you'll notice, because these are stranded, when I go to the right and they get twisted up, when I let go they go back to the reflex state. So they don't twist over like they do with a solid wire, and that's perfectly normal. So next wire we're going to have to hook up, we got our 2 neutrals. So we got one which is an all white and one which has a colored stripe on it. And this particular one, we got a blue stripe. It doesn't matter what color it is, it's just to signify that that's the other neutral. So what we're doing is we're going to switch these neutrals. So on the one with the stripe on it, the colored stripe, that's going to go to the neutral coming from our circuit breaker. So just like the red wire was connected to the black wire from our circuit breaker, so is the white with the stripe on it. So these 2 are on the same phase of power, and so we're going to strip this one back. We've got our neutral wire coming in here. This is a solid wire. I'm just going to kind of hold those together and then grab another wire nut. Keep twisting, and now it's starting to twist over on itself. We've got that one good. And any of the kind of excess wire, you can kind of pull it back as needed. And so we're almost there now. We have our neutral
which is connected to the furnace, the neutral from the furnace, and we got our white wire coming from our transfer switch, the 2 plain whites, and we're going to connect those together. So now our neutral is going through the transfer switch and coming back. Just going to twist those together and then use another wire nut. Good and tight. And the other thing you can do also is tug on the wire nuts and make sure that, and you can kind of tug on each individual wire and make sure they don't pop out or slide out. And you can also look at it and make sure there's no individual strand coming out. That could short out. Only on your hot is the one you really have to worry about. The neutrals, it shouldn't cause an issue. So now our last wire is our ground wire, and we got a bare copper wire here, and then our stranded, and we're going to strip that down. And like I said, if you don't have the wire, you can just directly screw that to the frame or case of the furnace. And this will be our last connection. So now we're ready, and this might be a tight fit, but now we just gotta kind of get everything in there. I'm gonna wire this, put the cover back on, and we are basically done with our wiring. So we'll just put the little cover on here. And if these wires are too long, you can cut them back. I like to leave a little excess if it's all possible, just in case something messes up or you need to adjust something. And so now I'm going to wire tie this to here, so we don't have to worry about any kind of abrasion and stuff. Okay, so we're going to turn the circuit breaker back on for the power. And right now our switch on here is in the off position. The center position is off right here. And you'll notice there's, on the left it says line. That's our line power, our utility power. And on the right is generator, and that's our auxiliary power, any backup power we have. So right now it's shut off, even though the breaker's turned on. It's shut off because of this. When we switch this to line, it will be back on our utility power. So we'll do that now. That will turn on our utility power, and it's been off for a while, so the furnace might kick on, and we're going to want to test run it with the thermostat and make sure everything operates properly. And thermostat just kicked on. I'm going to run through a test sequence on this and make sure it operates properly. So this is how you'll leave it in a normal mode. If you lose power, the sequence of operation for starting this off your generator is you're going to want to switch this off. So we'll switch it off. It's off now, and it'd be off normally because you wouldn't hear anything. Obviously, you don't have any power, but just wanted to show that they with that fan running. So now we can plug in our extension cord into our generator or auxiliary backup, battery bank, whatever we have for power, and then we can test run that in the backup power mode. Okay, we have the generator running. I don't know if you can hear it in the background. It's pretty quiet, but we got the cord here. And the nice thing about this one is it has the it lights up when it has power.
So we're going to plug this in. It's in the off position. Plug that in and it's really firm, and then switch it to generator. And there it goes, it's firing up. And we'll do a test run on it, make sure it operates properly. Okay, so we're running right now. The gas is on, the fan is on, everything's running properly. Just want to talk about the shutdown procedure. What you're going to want to do is make sure that the furnace is not running while you shut off the power. It's just not good to do that. So what you want to do is shut it off at the thermostat first, if it's currently like in a heating mode, and shut off the furnace. And then once it's cooled down and everything's shut down, then you're gonna shut off the switch on the front here. You'll shut that off once everything's down, and then you'll unplug and then shut down from there. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, send me an email to sales@heezy.com.